Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Oh, man. Yes, indeed. I guess you're supposed to talk when it's live. 12 Faces is Sober Speaks podcast. This is episode 62. Um, my guest tonight is Marquita. I will have her on in just a second, but let me do the advertising side of 12 Faces of Sober. But if you can see, this is my new hoodie. All you got to do is go on 12facesofsober.com. I'm running a promo right now. All you got to do is type in 12 Faces and you will get 20% off. Once again, that's 12 Faces of Sober. This is a extra large hoodie, but it goes up until I think 3X. My t-shirts with my face and the logo on it, they go up to 5X in multiple colors. So just make sure, like I said, you kind of just go through it and see there's a variety of different shirts. Some with just 12 Faces of Sober, some with my face on it like this and stuff like that. But like I said, also I know people are exploring other platforms in terms of Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, I think Amazon. Well, I'm in the process of uploading the videos. I have, like I said, this will be 62. I have roughly about 15 to 20 already uploaded, and I should have that done hopefully within the next week or two. So, like I said, if those don't like to use YouTube and want to use another platform, they will be up on all podcast platforms. So, we're gonna go ahead and jump into this interview. Like I said, big shouts out to my dude Ed DeShazer. I went to St. Cloud State with him, and he recommended Marquita come on the podcast. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing her story. Hello, Keola, how you doing? Keola was once a guest on 12 Faces Sober Speaks podcast, I think about a week or two ago. Great conversation. So let's see if Marquita's ready. Let's see. Work, did it work? Oh, there we go. There we go. Hello, hello, hello. What's going on?
Hello, hello.
Welcome to the podcast, 12 Faces Sober Speaks. I'm happy to have you on. Like I said, as I was starting the intro, my buddy Ed DeShazer, he had just reached out to me this morning. It was like, I'm glad you guys connected. And I was like, how do you even know who it is?
Yeah.
So
Like,
I thought that, yeah, I thought that was pretty dope. But like I said, yeah, we went to college together for roughly about a year. I was on the tail end of getting my bachelor's, and I think he came in. I would say the fall of either 2001, if not 2002, is when we met, and so we've been knowing each other
awesome.
for the last 20 years. Hmm.
Well, Kenneth, I just want to, thank you for allowing me to be a guest on your show tonight. Feel like there's some things that I want to, speak about. So, and definitely shout out to Edward for linking this up. He's a real one. So blessings to him. So yeah, I'm just ready to get in it and let's talk tonight.
Okay, so let's start with just a background on you. Where are you from? How was
Yeah.
it? Yeah, and how was it like for you growing up in terms of, were you in a household around drugs and alcohol? How was that for you?
Great questions to start off with. So, hi everybody. I am Marquita Renee. I am a motivational speaker and a recovery coach. But of course, that was not always who I was. So, giving you all a little background of my story. I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma. If you all know about the 1921 race riot, Black Wall Street, that's my city. So I live and die Tulsa, that's my hometown. As a young girl, I was always an outcast and always considered the black sheep of the family. And I was always a rebel. So growing up, I kind of, I was more outgoing. And so I played sports, played basketball and ran track. I was very athletic growing up. So I was outside with the boys, me and the boys, me and the guys, I can kick it with the guys all day. And so my sisters, they were very, very different. But I would be the one who, anything happens, call sis, call me, so I'm the middle child. And we end up moving to Atlanta when I was really young. So I lived in Atlanta for 15 years. Being in Atlanta, I seen so much. It was a whole different type of environment from Tulsa, of course. Being down south, it's just I was out there. I was living a life in in my teens. So in my teens, I was I became very, very rebellious. And I began to kind of have a standoffish relationship with my household. So I always would be outside and come on, when the street lights come on, right? So that, after that, I was in a lot of trouble. My mom at that time was like, you need to relocate. We need to get back to Tulsa. So high school, I returned back to Tulsa, graduated, started college, 2002. I went to a HBCU, and life kind of, college life was everything. So if it's any college students watching this live, I recommend, if you trying to decide if you want to go to school, at least try it your first year. Let me just throw that out there. So life, changed my sophomore year when I became pregnant. And I became pregnant with by someone who was from Los Angeles, California. He lived in South Central. So back then, if anybody knows about South Central LA, they know, that's where the Crips is at. And he was he gang banged, and all of that stuff was transpiring. Well, of course, I didn't want to live or be around that at school. So I left my sophomore year. Things kind of took a turn for me in 2009 when I had my daughter. And when I had my daughter, I never grew up in a household with alcohol or drugs. I was around people. I was around family who did, but it's specifically in my home, no one did that. So I didn't get really introduced to alcohol until college.
Okay.
Going to frat parties, right? Just out there going to the parties on the yard and, just having a good time. And alcohol was introduced to me. And kind of that's what started the journey of me drinking.
Now I got hold on, not to interrupt you. I got a quick question.
Yeah.
You mentioned Atlanta. What were you out in Atlanta back in '99?
Freaknik, yes, sir. If that's where you was heading with it.
Yeah, no, well, because I went to Clark Atlanta for a little bit. I went to Clark Atlanta. Okay. Yeah, '99. That was the last year of Freaknik, and it was cold that year. It was cold that year. Mm-hmm.
It was which I was, a little too. I was like I said, I was rebellious. So, but I definitely did step on the Freaknik grounds downtown, Peachtree. So yeah. Small world, isn't it? You went to Clark Atlanta, so that's what's up. So yeah, as far as for me, life kind of, I became immune to alcohol and smoking around, like I said, my college years. And then when I got pregnant, of course, all that stopped, And then 2009, I became pregnant with my daughter. And that's kind of where everything for me shifted, with me being introduced to pain medications. And that kind of was the start of my battle to prescription medications. And so that was a long 9 years. So through that, and I don't want to go share too much because you might want to ask some questions, but yeah, so me as a African-American woman, I have been through the struggle with homelessness and going through, substance abuse and being in toxic relationships and still trying to be a mother while battling all these other things. Recently just got my bachelor's over this summer. So after 20 years, the pandemic didn't hold me down. I said, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of this because 20 years ago, I dropped out due to me having, being pregnant. And so here I am. Life has changed. I'm in a very better place, of course. And now I'm just really blessed to be here with you tonight and share some more about me.
So you mentioned prescription pills. Now I was like anti any type of prescription pills, even though, like I said, I'm a disabled veteran. Like, they prescribe me a lot of stuff and I'm refusing. I'd be like, no, I don't want to take this stuff. Now, you mentioned that you abused that. Now, was this something that they prescribed to you, or was it something that you got on the street in terms of, of the prescription pills?
So at the beginning, it was something I was prescribed. After you give birth, you're in a lot of pain. And that's the first thing they prescribe to new mothers is, Percocets, and it's to help for pain. And so that's how it all started, me being prescribed from a medical doctor. And that's really kind of how it normally starts when it comes to an addictive behavior to pain medications. You have a doctor prescribing you something for pain. Mm-hmm. And when you realize that, okay, because it's a medical doctor, I'm good, mm-hmm. That turns into a whole different lifestyle. So yeah.
And when they were actually prescribing this to you, did they have the discussion with you in terms of like, okay, this can be addicting, or if you have a past with addiction or anything else, there's a possibility that you can get addicted to taking pain medication?
Back then, and this was 2009 era. So back then, it was not even addiction to prescription medications was not something that doctors spoke about much. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's something that could definitely bring awareness. They could have, but again, back then it wasn't something that a doctor said to me, like, this is something that can become addictive. So make sure, you need to taper off no, it was never any. You can go to the doctor so easy back then and get 180 pills, mm-hmm. knowing you don't need 180 pills, but that was a prescription they would give you. And mm-hmm. then after so long, yes, it turned into me going to the street pharmacist. And we all know what that means.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked that question is because I tore my Achilles, and they had prescribed me that. Now, mind you, I was, in alcoholism when they prescribed me this medication. I was more or less was like, I was abusing it. I was not only taking the medication, but I was also drinking. So that's what I mean. Like, they definitely, and I tore I tore it back in roughly around the same time that you mentioned that you dealing with your pregnancy and stuff. And I guess I can say the same thing, that they didn't describe that. They didn't say, hey, this particular medication can be addicting. And, mm-hmm. and to me, I don't know if it's they want to damage our bodies and get us hooked on these type of pain pills, or if that's just a thing across the board in terms of people, 10 years prior that may have got addicted to pain medication.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that, back then I definitely, what I know now, of course, would have saved me, but from, going down that path. But I tell my story in a way that was the journey I had to go through. I mm-hmm. had to face going through an addictive journey to understand what it meant, how to overcome it, and how to bless other people to overcome their battle. Because right, as we all know now, it is people are dying left and right from overdosing. Mm-hmm. You got high school kids. It's bad now. And the pandemic just put basically made it 10 times worse.
Mhm.
So an addiction is definitely still something that is a stigma, especially in the Black community.
Mhm.
Definitely a huge stigma, and it's also something that it needs to be brought more awareness to, because so many people suffer in silence, and they feel
Mhm.
like, or they have the guilt or the shame, or how it is, like, I'm good, or they be in denial. So it's still so much to unpack when it comes to addiction, especially in our communities.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that because like I said, I never liked taking pills, even to this day. So I know that if somebody, I have diabetes and they tell me I need to take my medication,
Mm.
I don't, but I do other things to try to prevent my diabetes, getting out of control. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing too is that, like, I think that it's now like as they say, an epidemic because it's
Mm-hmm.
affecting their own. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
all the years of people not wanting to address the issue of pain pills because these doctors have been writing these prescriptions for all races. It's not just for blacks, it's for white people, Asians, Hispanics, and everything. But a lot of times, the doctors that's signing off on these, they're just as addicted as the patient.
Yep.
And they
Yep.
don't, you know what I'm saying? But it's rare that you're going to hear that until they get busted for writing their own prescriptions or something,
Exactly.
and it's sad because, you know, as a black community, they've already poisoned us with having liquor stores pretty much on every other corner, and
Right.
they're finding ways to take us out. But now they're just adding more to it. They're adding the pain pills. They're adding the fentanyl, and now fentanyl is a big problem in other communities. But this has been something that's been going on for years. I mean,
Yeah.
I can recall growing up in San Diego back in the the '90s, early '90s in middle school, being a seventh grader, that they had a different name for the fentanyl back then, and it was a problem at a junior high school. So
Mm.
this is I would say 1990, between 91, 92 time frame, if not, yeah, around there. And to think about it now, almost 30 years later, these problems are still there. These problems are
Mm-hmm.
still in the schools. Now it's getting to the elementary school. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the problem. Sorry, somebody's texting me. But that's the problems that we face today. And so I guess
Mm-hmm.
my question to you is that when did you realize, okay, you stirred up this addiction, you had it for some time. When did you realize, okay, I need to, make changes? Was it your family? Was it something within yourself? Did you get in trouble? What was it that, made you say, all right, well, it's time for me to get rid of this? Or did you go to rehab? Like what was the process like?
So the process for me, and that's a great question. The process for me was I hit rock bottom. I had hit rock bottom in 2015 when I was in a relationship that I should have never been in.
Mhm.
And that relationship is what started my transition to changing my life. I
Okay.
went to jail
Mm,
and I was in court, and that was the first time I had ever been in trouble.
mm,
And the charges was so steep. They were like, you either facing 10 years
mm,
or you can do a plea deal.
mm,
And I'm just like, I didn't even do anything, because the charge was pretty much harboring a fugitive.
mm,
And that was a steep charge, but they wanted that person, they wanted him so bad. So because of that, they put me in it. And it was all just a point at that time where I was like, okay, I felt like God was telling me that either I'm going to get myself together or I'm not going to get out of this. So when that happened and I hit rock bottom, the day that I got out of jail, I had an eviction notice, and this was all around Thanksgiving. I had an
mm,
eviction notice on my door. Like you need to be gone in 10 days. So everything started to hit back to back to back for me. And that's what started my journey to being homeless. So that happened in 2015. So for 3 years, from 2015 to 2018, I was moving, sleeping on couches, and I had my daughter at the time was 5. So I'm sleeping on couches, you know, trying to just figure this out. And I knew that I needed to change my life. So during that, I'm like, okay, but I still have this addiction. Like I still wanted to pop pills, you know, I'm like, because I was succumbing to my emotions, right? We never been told how to handle our pain in our communities, right? So what do? We turn to alcohol, we turn to smoking, we turn to toxic people to help think that that's what we need. And that's not what we need. But so yeah, I felt like, oh my God, I'm homeless. Like I need pills. That'll keep me just sane. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to go through the withdrawals because, of course, by then, yeah, I was deep into my addiction. So the sickness, I hate it. And if you've ever experienced withdrawal symptoms, it's horrible. So on top of me not having any place to stay, on top of me moving to a place it's called Catholic Charities, I was like, I would never.
I'm familiar.
Okay.
Familiar.
So yeah, and it was just through the grace of God how I got into that program, because they were only accepting one more applicant, and I was like, I have nowhere to go. You know, my daughter, I had stuff in my car, and I'm like, I have nowhere to go. I don't want to sleep in my car. I'm like, just please, and so they were like, well, you need to come up with a deposit. And I was like, I don't have any money. You know, by then I lost my job. I was working for a company called Blue Cross and Blue Shield, an insurance company. So I've always had a good job. I've always had a good, you know, stability, right? But nobody knew about this darkness that I was dealing with. Because I always looked like how you see me right now. I always kept it together. You never knew. So, it was that I needed that wake up call. So during that 3 years, I started to go back to church. And at that time, I was going physically in church because I felt like I just needed to be in his house. I'm like, Lord, I don't know what else to do. I don't have nobody to help me. My family, nobody was there. Like when I tell you, Kenneth, nobody was there. So it was just me and my daughter looking for me, making sure she fed and all that. And I'm like, how am I going to get out of this? So I end up moving to a small town, and I needed to get away, right? I'm like, okay, let me get away from the toxic people, because I had to connect on every corner. All I had to do was do when you get your pills. Oh yeah, I'll meet you at the pharmacy, blah, blah, blah. So I had my connects on speed dial. It was nothing. It was clockwork. But I was tired, Kenneth. I was tired. I was like praying, and I'm like, Lord, please, like, I have no money. I have nowhere to go. I have no way to put gas in my car. At that time, my car the radiator was going out, and you know, when you got to pull over every 2 minutes to put water in the radiator. So, you know, I didn't have no air conditioner. So it was rough. 2016. I had a rough year, on top of going to see a PO, because I ended up taking a plea deal. I'm like, I'll take a plea deal. I can't do 10 years. Like, what? Like, I can see if I've done something. So I had a lot of time to sit with myself, sit with my thoughts, sit with what did I want for my life? And I knew it wasn't the path that I was going. I was like, no, this is not going to work. So I kept applying for jobs. Even I've never worked, and I'm not judging anybody who, you know, worked at fast food, any of that, but that's just never been the path that I've had to go on. But during that time, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to McDonald's, Subway, somewhere. Somebody can hire me. I was getting no's left and right. No, we're not. And I'm like, I mean, I couldn't fathom, Kenneth, I couldn't understand like how I couldn't even get a job at just a McDonald's. I was being, I got told no so many times to where it was just something I got immune to, right? I was like, I already know they're going to tell me no, but I didn't give up. I was like, I got to keep pushing. I got to keep figuring, I got to find something. And I'll tell you, this 2017, I had to go stay with my dad. I hadn't lived with my dad since I was a kid, since I was 5, 6 years old. And I was like, Dad, I have nowhere else to go. I'm like, and he lived in the hood in a 1-bedroom. And he was like, just come. He was like, I'll sleep on the couch. You can have my room and we'll figure it out. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, how did I get to this point? Right? Like, how did I get to this point to where I have nothing? Like, I lost everything. I couldn't afford my storage. So everything that I had from my house was gone. They, you know, sold it or whatever they do, auctioned it off. So I had what I had in my car and took it to then I had another car and the door was falling off the hinges. So I had to hold it with it was just so much happening at once, Kenneth. And I was just like, okay, I have time to sit and figure out direction I'm gonna go. This guy who was a director for a mental health facility, a crisis unit.
Okay.
I went to him and I said, you know, I don't care what you are hiring for. Yes, I have a felony on my background. I'm currently trying to pay this off. I was like, just give me a chance, please. I'm like, I'm desperate. And he was like, well, I'm only hiring, you know, overnight from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I'm like, how am I going to do this with a 5-year-old? Like, I don't have a clue. I took the job. That was the start of my journey of recovery, because I was starting to help other people in recovery. And I'm like, I can't be a hypocrite and still be doing this and still trying to help somebody else. So I had to work on me. And then I went through a spiritual journey. I said, you know what? I need to leave Oklahoma altogether. So when I got released from probation, when that judge hit that gavel and was like, Marquita, congratulations, you're a free woman. My mom was like, what you think about moving to the East Coast? I didn't even hesitate. I said, when we leaving? I'm like, that was my sign to go. And when I tell people you have to change your environment and move from your hometown, that's the only way you cannot be in the same environment that makes you sick. So that's
real talk right there. That's real.
I left and I've never looked back. I left in October 2018, and I've been on the East Coast ever since. And my walk with my spiritual journey is literally what cleared me from being free. I had my breakthrough, and I just tell people, you don't have to go to treatment. We can't afford it, can we? I mean, let's be real. That's number one. And number two, I've worked in it. And it's not really designed to really help you. It's really to just have you as a number and say, yeah, we're doing this, but they still give you harm reduction, which is more medication to try to say we are weaning you off of this. But you are basically adding on another addiction, because this medicine is more addictive than what I'm just got through taking. So it's a trickling effect. And that's what made me, my mind, I had to change this and say, you know what, if I can, the power is in me. So if I could just remove myself from people, from my environment, and begin to love myself and heal myself, I think I can do this. And that's what I did.
And I like how you shared that, because that is very true. Although I'm not from Phoenix, I've had stints of living in Phoenix. I got in trouble in Phoenix in 08, almost got in trouble in 2016. So I understand. That's why, like I said, when I had decided to get sober, I literally left 6 years ago. I left Arizona. Was like, I called my mom, was like, look, can I stay with you for a little bit till it's time for me to go to rehab? And then, so what you gonna do after that? I was like, it don't matter what I do after that. I just got to get out of Arizona, because if I stay in Arizona, I'm gonna be back in jail. Excuse me. So I feel you on that. That the change of environment is definitely is key to keeping your mind off of whatever was pulling you down. So I definitely would like to say thank you for sharing that. And welcome to those who are tuning in. There are a few from past podcasts I've had on. So big shouts out to you guys for showing love and coming in. See, yeah. That's the homie right there out in Philly. I'm gonna be on her podcast on Saturday. But so I would tell you that's kind of how I was, because when I was in treatment here, because my first treatment stint was in 2008 here in Minneapolis, or Minneapolis, which is the next city over. The guy was like, what are you gonna do when you get out? I said, I'm going to the military. He was like, why? He's like, we're at war. I said, what am I supposed to do? Be out here on the streets, or I can go get a paycheck on the 1st and 15th and have housing, have medical, do things, even though I carried my alcoholism when I was in the military. But it was for me to get out of here, get away from, whatever was going on, the pain that got me away from Arizona in '08. So, I mean, the change of environment is always good. You know what I mean? And some healthcare providers are good, and some aren't. I'll say that, needless to say, oh, wait a minute. Yep. See, look, I left Kentucky to get sober. Leaving made all the difference. Yes, that is very,
that's
very
it.
true.
The environments is what can either make us or break us. And we don't realize that the people that we have around us, while we're in that, toxic mindset, we don't even realize that they're not really there to change with you. So it's like you got to break that equation and pull out and say, you know what, y'all can still have that lifestyle, but I don't want it no more, because there could have been many of times, I could have had an overdose many of times, but guess what? Guess who saved me? And I cannot ever not speak on the power of God and how he helped me. Now I know people, they don't walk that path, and that it ain't for everybody. I get it, so I never want to try to put my beliefs on somebody else, but that's what saved me. And that's what helped me realize that when you have nobody in your corner, no family, no friend, no nothing, he is there waiting, saying, you know what, I got you. It's time for you to get your life together. But I'm not going to help you get your life together if you go right back and doing the same thing. So it's a process, any journey in life we go through, it's a process. But with addiction, it's a totally different process, because the stigmas that has been projected in our communities. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to speak the truth because of fear, because of, oh, well, I don't want to get nobody in trouble. Well, you know what? Families is dying. Kids are dying because nobody wants to speak up.
Yeah.
So
they don't want to, they want to have the conversation after the fact. You know what I'm saying? When so-and-so gets locked up or someone meets their demise, then they want to have the conversation. But these conversations need to be had now. And that's one thing that I've noticed, even growing up in San Diego. Like I said, my dad was, or is, he's in recovery now, but all throughout up until high school, my dad drank. And so we didn't have that discussion. My mom didn't say, hey, yeah, your dad is this. I found this stuff out probably within the last 10 years, that how severe my dad's, addiction was. And instead, this should have been something that was discussed. The type of trauma that I faced, that I witnessed when my dad had, his, episodes with alcohol, or why I'm so fearful of the police, because the police was coming to our house a lot back when I was like 4, 5, and 6 years old, because of the fact that my dad was drunk. And see, that's the thing, is that I don't know what it is, or maybe it's just our parents' generation or a couple generations before them, where they were too busy working and whatever they dealt with as far as their addictions and stuff like that, they just didn't have the time to have the conversation with us. And so now we have these platforms. Now we are able to be more expressive than what our parents weren't able to do, which is a good thing. You know, of
Mm-hmm.
course, we need more of it. We need more individuals like yourself and I that's out here talking about it, addressing some of these issues. If it's something mental health related, a toxic relationship, you know, dealing with people that you have no business dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different things that, some families just didn't have they didn't have the, ooh, wait a minute, family died because no one wants, there you go. That is very true. That is very true. And then big shots out to Sugar Water XX out in the UK. That's one of my first viewers on my podcast in the UK live. So I do appreciate that. So like I said, but yeah, even with that comment, families are not having a discussion. It's okay. They'll celebrate the party. Uncle so and so, auntie so and so, she's getting it in. She drunk tonight or she high, but they don't want to sit here and talk about that same person acting a fool.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could be on the phone saying, "Girl, did you see?" Or "Hey man, did you see so and so and so and so acting out?" But they don't want to address those issues. And see, that's
Yeah.
what we, the next generation of leaders, we have to do it. We have to be able to save these youngsters that's in their 20s and teens that are starting to see that, okay, you could just go outside and go pick up some fentanyl or something. Or if like you said, the right connect, you'll be able to get it anytime, any day or night. You know what I mean? But like I said, families aren't having that discussion, and they need to, because like I said, a lot more lives need to be saved for sure.
Yeah, I agree. A lot more. And over the years of my recovery journey, what I have realized, and I do a lot of research and I do watch a lot of documentaries of just kind of like, how did we get here, right? Like, how did we get to the point to where right now it is so acceptable for a person in a white coat and a notepad to write you this stuff, or a liquor store is planted, like you said, in every neighborhood, in every, especially in our communities. And
Mm-hmm.
what I have realized is that this is all a business.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big business, so they don't really care about how many prescriptions they write. They getting money from these pharmaceutical companies. They
Mm-hmm.
getting money from these corporations who, fund these liquor stores to go in neighborhoods. They getting big, big money. So and I know, you mess with anybody money, it's gonna be a problem. They coming
Mm-hmm.
for you.
Yeah.
So this is something that is not going to stop. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that we as a community, we as people, we have to, again, not be fearful and
Mm-hmm.
stand up and be an advocate for the youth, because they are our future. And they are going to be more boisterous than us and our previous generations was saying, you know what? No, we taking this to the council. We taking this to the White House. We getting on front lines. These 20-year-olds, they not scared. Now they ready to take it where it needs to go. But it's like, it's not enough of them. They need us. We need our the older generation. We need to all come together and realize what's really happening. And people don't want to do that because they don't want to stop taking these medications. They don't want to stop going to the liquor store because people don't want to heal.
Mm-hmm.
That's what starts addictions, is sometimes it's being prescribed, like for me, or you've went through some trauma and
Mm-hmm.
you've been holding on to that for so long, and you drown your emotions with toxics. And
Right.
it also could be peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a party to, somewhere, and you're like, oh, I just want to try it because you see everybody else doing it. Follow the leader type stuff. Nobody knows how to be authentic and walk in their own path. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
wants to follow what everybody else is doing. And then parents don't know what's going on. And again, they don't have these conversations.
Yeah, because
I
I
talk,
know
go
I
ahead.
know I'm not mean to cut you off. I know that, you know, I drunk all throughout high school, and I used to come home Friday nights after football games, and, you know, my mom would be sleeping on the couch, and I give her a kiss goodnight or whatever, like, all right, mom, I'm home or whatever. And I noticed she had to smell the alcohol. You know what I'm saying? I'm this kid, but she never had the conversation with me. There was times where
Mm-hmm.
I was under 21 going to party in Tijuana, Mexico, coming in stumbling at, 2, 4, 5 o'clock in
Mm-hmm.
the morning. And she never not one time. Like I would sleep all day. I was literally get up about 1, 2 o'clock and she's like, oh yeah, you must have had a long night. And I'm like, yeah, I sure
Yeah.
did. But you still not saying like, why are
Right.
you
What you been
drinking?
doing?
Yeah, what have you been doing? You not old enough, you know what I'm saying? Because I left California right before I turned 21. So like I said, from 18 all the way right before I turned 21, every weekend I was in Tijuana.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I'm surprised that I was able to survive during that era, because that era of
Yeah.
the cartel was a whole lot worse than what it is today. But I ain't gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's just, it's one of those things that, I know for sure that in my household and a lot of my friends around me, and even the guests that I've had on the podcast, the story seems to be the same, that families are not having these discussions. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where it's like, man, we got to do it now, because if we don't do it now, these drugs is just a whole lot worse of what they got going on today. And
Yeah.
so, and as you see, the numbers are increasing in terms of people that are losing their lives. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, we have to be, come as a collective group, have these discussions, and be able to attack the problems firsthand, because if not, this ain't gonna work. You know what I
No.
mean? And so that's why, like I said, when I decided to do this, I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna go full speed, because I know that, like I said, I party with the best. I party with celebrities. I did this, did that, but that was my lifestyle 20 years ago.
Right.
And the lifestyle that I want to have now close to being in my mid 40s, is be that advocate, be that person and say, look, yeah, have fun, but just know that you continue having that fun for an extended period of time, you're going to be addicted. You're going to end up having issues with the law. You're going to end up not having a place to live. And hopefully they get the message, or they're not going to just say, oh, this is the old guy talking. Nah, this is a guy who pop bottles, any big name stuff, I did it. But that's not what you want to live the rest of your life doing. Unless that's what makes
Mm-hmm.
you happy, then go right ahead. But that ain't the life that I want to live. I want to, be healthy. I want to live well past my 80s. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But if I continue to drink like that, I wouldn't even be here today. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So
And
that's
that
what.
and that you're so right. I mean, I lost my aunt at 56 in 2019. She was a beautician. She did hair. Everybody went to my aunt to get their hair done. So and I used to ask her right before she passed, I'm like, what made you drink alcohol? Because she never was a drinker, she never was a drinker until she got into a certain relationship. And again, I will speak on the fact that, people can really tarnish who we are as an individual when it comes to taking on a habit that you've never done. And so that habit turned into her drinking a fifth every day. And of course, she developed sclerosis of the liver.
Mm-hmm.
And right before I left Oklahoma, she was deteriorating, and it happened so fast. And I just told myself, I said, you are going to be inspiration for me to never want to take it this far, because seeing her be the most beautiful woman who had her hair done and her nails done, and she was always looking good. And then for her to have her skin sunk in, and thank you. Her skin was sucked in, and it was just she just looked so bad. And I was like, this is what damages our body. And we don't realize that, alcohol is the most toxic substance that we can intake in our bodies.
Yeah.
And after so long, your body can't deplete any more of the alcohol because it's not your organs ain't functioning correctly. So like you said, Kenneth, if we don't start having these conversations in the family, then we are not doing our jobs. If we know that this is something that's harmful, and the family, people know, they just have gotten so accustomed to not talking about it.
Yeah, they just block it out because I mentioned this before on a previous podcast. Like both my parents are from Mississippi, so I would go, on my dad's side, and a lot of my great uncles, they war veterans and stuff like that. So they came back messed up, from the Vietnam and stuff like that. And so when I would go and visit as a child, my grandma would be like, may she rest in peace. But she was like, yeah, that's just Uncle so-and-so. Don't pay him no attention. He'll be all right. And, he'd come in there staggering. Hey, what's going on, nephew? But instead of addressing the issue, like, dang, this man, may have seen numerous deaths, being overseas. And, but that's not justifying the fact that he's drinking. But it's like we didn't have those resources. Like you mentioned, too, people didn't have the money to go to rehab, didn't have the money to see a therapist. You know what I mean? I'm blessed and fortunate that, I'm 100%. So I'm eligible to go and seek therapy, get the medical attention. But, not everybody has that luxury. And we do, we have to, I can't stress it enough. We have to have these conversations, and I'm going to keep having these conversations because I know how important it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm the same way. I'm having a conversation so much now, Kenneth, to where I've started a community program in where I live. And I host a peer support group every Wednesday and Thursday. And that's all I'm talking about is substance abuse and providing tools and resources. And I do it virtual and in person, because those who can't come, okay, now you can reach people all across the world, So I'm like, we have no excuses to where people can say, I don't know. It's the resources are out here now. We have social media, which is a good thing. I tell people social media can be positive and negative. It's just whatever you're using it for. And use it to connect with people who are trying to bring awareness, who are trying to educate you and inform you on the bad stuff of having an addiction. Is nothing good ever is going to come out of having an addiction. Nothing ever.
Because whatever high or drunkenness that you have, it's going to go away, and those problems are still there. You're going to still have to address them with a headache, or you might be in jail, or you know what I'm saying. And that's pretty much what it is. Is that the conversation got to be talked about more. And I try my best, and sometimes at least maybe once a week I might repeat the same thing on one of my posts. Like somebody's going to get it. Somebody's going to understand it. Somebody's going to understand that, okay, this guy done been through the trenches. I was homeless, just like you mentioned. I forgot to say that earlier, but I was homeless in Phoenix right before I got sober. So I know the feeling. Hell, I was almost homeless again this year before I came back to Minnesota when I was living in Florida. So I understand.
Oh, I like this comment. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that comment, no drug or drink has ever given me the high I have now being so. Boy, come on. That's it.
That's another big shouts out to my dude right there. He's also been on the show. He was on my podcast earlier this year. So I'm appreciating all of the former guests coming in and showing love, most definitely. Now we getting on. I really had to ask a lot of questions because you've been sharing enough information. But there's two things that I wanted to ask you. Did you mentioned cirrhosis of the liver? Did you have any health issues as far as getting yourself out, off the prescription pill a la withdrawals? Did you, have to, go to the hospital because it was so bad for you or anything like that? How was that for you?
So I never, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't, through the grace of God, I never experienced an overdose.
Okay.
There has been times where, like I said, I just think that he has always been by my side, because back then, the pill game was so bad. People started making them, and they would make rat poison.
Mm,
It was a lot of people being hospitalized that was taking these pills. And
mm,
because I knew how the formation of pills felt, I got to the point where I would rub it and
mm,
see if it chalked up in my hand, it was fake. Somebody made this from home.
mm,
So that, knowing that, I was just like, this can kill me if I do not, just completely stop. So my body never experienced anything that led to like a real bad medical problem. Now, I
okay.
did always have bronchitis really bad, and that was due to me smoking. I smoked heavy. I smoked Black and Milds.
Mhm,
So me smoking led to bronchitis and me having pneumonia almost every year. It was nonstop. I knew when it was going to come, and I knew that if I didn't have an inhaler, that I would be coughing profusely. So again, I'm just so blessed that nothing tragic as far as my health wise I experienced. And so it's just really going through the bronchitis, and honestly the pneumonia, that was enough for me to say I'm done. Like, I got that. And I start watching those commercials. You remember back then the commercials with the people who had a hole in their throat and they had the
oh
little
yeah,
thing? I started seeing, it was like they was popping
yeah.
up way more than what I used to
Hmm.
see. And I'm like, okay, is this
Yeah,
a
'cause
sign?
you started paying attention compared
Yeah,
to just watching it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
exactly. I
yeah.
started paying attention. Like, I was able to see where my life would lead to if I
Mhm,
kept doing what I was doing. So
mhm,
that's the thing, people. We have to start being mindful and really being able to be alone, and
mhm,
go through your journey alone,
mhm,
because you are able to see things in a different perspective that you never saw before. And
mhm.
those be messages, those be, kind of like what do you call those signs, to tell you like, uh you better pay attention now.
Yeah,
You go end up, you know what I'm saying,
yeah. Go down
somewhere you don't want to
that
be.
wrong path. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
understand completely. That's what's up. Now, I usually do this um on the before we close. I usually get two quotes from people, and so I want you to touch on that. The first one is: once you become a certain age, it is your responsibility to unlearn behaviors that hinder your growth as a person. So, I'm going to ask. So what was you thinking about that when you put it
so
together?
that quote, I mean, if we really stop and unpack it,
Hmm.
it's basically just kind of showing you and explaining to you, as at a certain age in life, you have to wake up. You
Hmm.
have to understand that behaviors can either make you again or break you.
Hmm.
Um, and we are put on this earth to grow. We are put on here to, find our purpose. And we can't keep making these excuses as to why I do A, B, C, and D when it comes to unhealthy habits. Um, so I just feel like, you get to a certain age, some things you just shouldn't even entertain anymore. You should just be like, I've been there and done that. Now I'm on this path of inspiring, empowering people, and just trying to give people hope and understanding that you have the choice to become whoever you want to be.
That's
And that's just what it is. There's no in between. Either you want to be this person or you want to be this. What do you want to do? Because
mhm.
we're not going back and forth. No.
Yeah, because I agree 100% with that because of the fact that when I got out of rehab this last time, I was like, look, man. you done let the family down. This ain't the first time, about the fourth or fifth time. You say you want to do something, but you're not doing it. So, you're on the verge of getting a divorce. What do you want to do with your life? And so I was like,
Mhm.
I'm just going to follow this path. I'm going to keep going. I enrolled in school, started traveling, then, got around a good group of people that was like, man, you need to put your experience on paper and write the book. And so, like you said, yeah, but that's me, like you said, telling people like, figure it out. You can have you can have that fun all you want to. You can abuse your
Mhm.
body, have health issues, but when are you going to stop? There's some people that may never stop, but I
Right.
know that my body couldn't withstand it anymore.
Right.
My body
Exactly.
couldn't be out there. I'm tired of having all kind of bruises and scars. I mean, I got scars on my arms now that I still don't even know how I got them, but they're there.
Hmm.
And that's difficult. It's scary. I mean, yeah, no, I'm not saying like no childhood knee scrape or something. I don't care about those, but these are recent scars. Recent when
Yeah.
the last few years of my drinking and stuff. But the second one is stop making excuses. Excuses are played out. You can overcome anything that you put your mind to.
Yep. Um, that's a quote that I was telling myself when I first started my journey to recovery. Um, because there are different levels or different cycles when you go through addiction. You got the denial stage, you got your maintenance stage, you got your preparation stage, you got your action stage. And during that time, I was, going back and forth with
Mhm,
excuses like, oh, I'm good. No, I want to stop. No, I want to do it again. No, I want to stop. So
mhm,
I had to tell myself, this was me talking to me saying, Marquita, these excuses is played out, boo boo. Like, okay, I'm over it and I'm you. It was like I was having a out of a person experience with talking to myself with saying, okay, so what are you going to do about it? Are you going to
mhm,
keep making excuses? And seeing other people around you, because I got tired of the negativity. I got tired of people saying, you gonna always be this, you gonna always be broke, busted, and disgusted. You know what I'm saying? I got tired of hearing it. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use that energy and I'm gonna apply it to getting myself together. No more excuses. I'm
mhm.
done. They've played out. Like I can't make up another excuse because another excuse is going to be followed by another excuse. So,
I like
you
that.
know,
I like that response. That's for sure. Now, let me see. Before we get out of here, um, you got a podcast, right?
I do. I did. Now I
So,
haven't. My podcast is called Flawlessly Reborn,
mhm,
and I named it there for a reason. Because I've went through my journey, and when you go through a spiritual journey, your mind, body, and spirit becomes reborn. You just are on a totally different path in life. Now I haven't been as dedicated to it since August because so much has transitioned in my life since then. So, but yes, my podcast, I speak on, of course, substance abuse. I speak on just healing and really trying to get people to understand who they are as a human being, because that's where it all starts is with understanding who you are and what you want to be in your life. So, I'm about to get it back going. I need to get my podcast back rolling and flowing so I can have my interviews too.
yes, I definitely will say that because that we need as many voices out there that look like us.
Yep, you're right.
Simple as that. The more people that are out here that look like us, that look like us, they need to hear it. They need to hear your experience. They need to hear other people's experiences to let them know, okay, when I'm sober curious and like, man, every time I look, the people in the sober community don't look like us. Okay, well now they seeing that, all right, there's people out here. There's people out here with a positive message. There's people that can relate. There's people who didn't get, the education as far as families when we were growing up.
Hmm.
That's what we need to hear. So I definitely would say yes, yes, yes. Please get back whenever you're
You
ready.
got it.
Get back on here for real, because we like I said. Oh, wait a minute. Oh yes. Oh, all right. Yes. Come on now. Yes. You come on. You need to get back right. You know what I'm saying? You definitely been a motivation to me as long as I've known you the last couple of weeks. So, most definitely. I'm gonna reach out to you in a little bit, make sure you straight. But like I said, see, I didn't even really go through my questions. Oh, you got one more thing. You got one more thing that you got going on. November 5th. What's going on November 5th?
Yes. November 5th, I am going to, there's an inauguration event taking place in New York. So I have been nominated to be the New York chapter secretary for Next Level Speakers Academy. So for those of you on the live, y'all definitely go, come follow me. And I'm definitely excited. I'm looking forward to being in the room with all of these beautiful people to share my, on this platform of speaking. And yeah, it's gonna go good. And yeah, I'm very excited for that. So
I do my homework a little bit.
I think I like that. I like that. Yes.
Most definitely. All right, we gonna close it out with this like I normally do. If you have some encouraging words to those that are straddling the fence, that's towing the line, as they would say to us, in the military, towing the line in terms of like, I want to quit, but I'm not ready to quit yet, or I got these health issues, I know I need to quit, but I'm not quitting. Or to those that are like early in their journey, and then we'll close it out with that.
So listen, everyone, if you're out there and you are any of those that Kenneth mentioned, understand that the power lies within you. Every seed that you plant in your life, understand it will eventually grow. You just have to give it that little TLC, meaning that tender love and care. Have patience with yourself. Understand, in order for you to ever see change, you have to be the one to put in the work. So it's a process. It's not going to be easy, but it's damn sure going to be worth it. So never give up on yourself.
I dig that for sure. Marquita, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story and the hope of recovery. I hope that someone that tuned in now, or if not later when they view this, that they take something from this. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I got a feeling that we might end up doing some public speaking events together or something.
Yes, let's do this. Let's do this.
Yeah. And thank you,
Kenneth, for having me on your show. It was a blessing for you to allow me to be a guest and just share my story on your podcast. And I hope you can do the same when I get mine back rolling.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I would love to be on there because I got a very rather interesting story. But yeah, most definitely. And to those that tuned in, I thank you. And those who interacted, comments, this is what I like. And I appreciate when I do these podcasts, because I don't want it to just be me and the guests. I want people to interact, share their thoughts. If something impacted them, sure. That's what this is all about. We're trying to recover out loud and recover together. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll make sure to leave all the information as far as Marquita in mind. If not, you can click her profile, follow her. She's a good person, very motivating as far as what she's trying to do within the community. And like I said, this is another wonderful episode of 12 Faces Sober Speaks podcast. You guys stay tuned to more amazing podcasts. I got a nice little roster coming up. And like I said, I'm just keep digging away. And just remember, 11/15/2022, I might go live about 3 or 4 different times to celebrate my 6 years of anniversary and make it as interactive as possible. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. And this has been another wonderful episode of 12 Faces Sober Speaks podcast. Y'all have a wonderful night. Now it's time for some football.
Bye.
All right, take care.